I'd like to recognize already that CGI and UVic have signed on as sponsors, which is great. The next piece is that we do have our 2020 AGM, which will happen at the end of May. We have confirmed a speaker for that event, and we'll be promoting that. You'll see lots more stuff around that. Again, we're monitoring risks around that event as well, and if we do realize some of those risks, we will make adjustments. Next slide. So our sponsors tonight, I would like to recognize our three main sponsors, Women of Action, Stumbler, and Prime Engineering, for supporting this event and helping make it possible. Next slide. Oh yeah, big round of applause. Thank you. So membership updates for PMI-VI. We continue to climb. We're sitting around 750 right now, which is great. And we've got new members in the audience tonight. If any of you are here, make sure you identify yourselves to us, because we love to meet all of our new members and connect with them and continue to kind of grow our community and get to know everyone that's involved in the project management Vancouver Island. Next slide. We do have two new PMPs that are with us here tonight. So I would like to first ask Angela to stand up so that we can congratulate herself. I hope they told you you were going to have to give like a 1-minute speech. Were you warned?
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. I do prefer to go by Angie, by the way. Sorry for the confusion. So I was educated at the University of Manitoba, the University of Alberta. I have a degree in civil engineering and environmental engineering as well. I lived and worked in Edmonton, Alberta for approximately 16 years, and I worked with CN Rail and Stantec Consulting while I was there. Luckily for me and my family, 10 years ago, we moved to beautiful British Columbia and Victoria, so we're exposed to all this out here. I still find it extremely gorgeous, and I currently work at Defence Construction Canada at CFB Esquimalt, and I'm very, very pleased to be here tonight and looking forward to a great evening. Thank you for welcoming me.
Charles?
Hi, everybody. Charles Sherman. I just wrote the test for the second time. I did have the PMP a long time ago. This is my first time at one of these events. So it's nice to network with everybody, start getting to meet some people. My background, worked with the government for a number of years and left for about 18 years and was out on my own doing private contracting, and now back with the Ministry of Attorney General, overseeing some of the IT projects there in the project delivery division. And that's about it. Sorry, I don't know if I went a minute or not, but
So just one more big round for Angie and Charles for completing what is a huge milestone for the first or second time. So just one more big round of applause for them. So part of what we've been doing is we've been inviting back members, one, to congratulate them on their new credentials, but also to connect with members who have been with the chapter for a very long time and have an opportunity to congratulate them and thank them for their many, many years of involvement and service with the chapter, and also have an opportunity to hear from them about project management as a career, how it's affected them, and just have a chance to continue to connect with all of our members. So I would like to invite Murray Grooms up to speak a few words.
So thank you very much. My family moved to Victoria in 1967 and graduated not from the University of Victoria. I went there for 1 year and then met a woman here in Victoria, and she always wanted to move to Toronto, so I graduated from the University of Toronto. Anyway, I do want to talk about volunteering inside of the PMI and anywhere you get a chance to volunteer that's at all related to your field of endeavor. So next slide, please, Slav. Why would you volunteer? And people ask me this, especially when you're in Europe. It's like, why would you bother to do something that you don't get paid for? And I have had the opportunity to do things in a volunteer setting for the first time that I wouldn't have been allowed to do to get paid for yet. So it's kind of been a pre-step to do things that are new, but you're in a supportive environment, you get to do them, and then you get to have those experiences and then use them to leverage your career. So you do it for personal growth, you do it for professional skills development, and not just getting PDUs for volunteering somewhere. And you do it to connect to other professionals outside of your industry. So next slide, please, Slav. The first time I was ever a team leader, really working on a group, I got to do that in a volunteer setting. The first time I got to play a strategic role in a sort of a vision setting experience was being the chapter president for 6 years of the Southern Alberta chapter in Calgary. We were incredibly proud at the time to have achieved, I think we were like the number 3 or number 4 size chapter in the country at 262 members. So it was a while ago. And the first time I got to work with the executive committees, C-suite people on large committee work was inside of the PMI organization and being associated with board committees inside of PMI. And I got to work with people who were the head of Merck Pharmaceuticals and people like that just on teams. It was an incredibly rewarding experience. Next slide. Professional development. The first time I got exposed to some new risk assessment and risk techniques was not in a professional setting, but was in a volunteer setting. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but the people who were walking us through risk management were from NASA at the time. We were working on large-scale change management initiatives. I don't know if any of you guys remember, but the project management used to have SIGs. It used to have special interest groups. The special interest groups got devolved into something called communities of practice, which then got completely devolved. But I was on the committee that was helping people work through those kinds of changes. And what do you do with the residual money sitting in SIG accounts? And how does that get spent? And what do you do with that? How do you handle credentialing? How do you manage a community of practice? Those were all the things that we were kind of working through as a group. And one of the most important things is the last bullet here is how do you onboard and offboard people on a team when you're not paying those people? How do you properly bring people on, give them a rewarding experience onto a team, and then make decisions that maybe this team wasn't for you, or at the end of it, wrapping things up and breaking the team apart and letting people go? I got to learn all of that in a volunteer setting before I had to do it with paid employees. Next slide. Connecting with professionals outside of my industry, and this has probably been the most fun part. Going through risk management with people from the Johnson Space Center in NASA when we were at a workshop in Houston was a thrilling experience, and I was sweating bullets. So you kind of think that risk management looks like this. And they're like, yes, that is a good overview description of what risk management is, but it really kind of looks like this. And having someone take you through all of the mental permutations and statistical models, and you realize this is what those guys do for a living. So it was a terrific experience. The SIG disbandment, talked about that. Construction management is where I was working with onboarding and offboarding people in a construction management workshop, bringing people onto construction teams, finding out that the mix of people and skills within that construction group weren't working or they were working, and how do you keep teams together. So all of those things were incredibly good experiences. And just down to the last slide, which is my closing slide. Any questions? I just want to close with a quote, and it's from Napoleon Hill. It is literally true that you can succeed best and quickest by helping others for their success. So thank you very much. It's been a great, rewarding experience volunteering in PMI, and I hope you guys get a chance to do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Murray, for those words. And that's the perfect segue. PMI needs you. So there's lots of opportunities to volunteer and get involved, earn PDUs so you don't have to write your PMP exam a second time. Lots of great opportunities there. Definitely connect with us, and we'd be happy to find opportunities and work with you to continue to build the chapter and build our community. Next slide. If you're from the PMI side tonight, here's the opportunity to report your PDUs. So you have the code there, C085. When you enter that, it'll bring up Project Management Vancouver Island, and you just need to write the title of our dinner meeting and then claim your PDUs. So we'll throw that up at the end of the night so that you're able to check that out, snap a picture. So with that, volunteering, we need to recognize that everything that we do as a chapter is based on volunteerism. So one person that I'd like to recognize is our volunteer of the month, who is integral in running our mentorship program and getting it off the ground. We didn't run a specific mentorship program, a formal mentorship program last year, but we did bring it back, and we were able to run a formal mentorship program this year that actually had the most mentors and proteges ever sign up. We had more mentors than proteges, I think for the first time ever in the history of the program, which was incredible. And then we were able to make 5 matches, and that program is now running. So that was all through the amazing work of Stephanie Poole. So I'd like to invite her up here for a quick minute and a round of applause, and to give her a little token of appreciation. Yeah. Yeah, it's a commemorative coffee table book around Project Management Institute. So great reading. Yeah. Next slide. So I just like to throw this up there. There's lots of ways to get in touch. I said reach out to us if you're interested in volunteering or getting involved. And so that's just a few of the ways. We have a Reddit account now too, so we're posting on Reddit to share with you, share with the community the different events that we're running. And we've also got our website and our emails and different social media accounts. Next slide. So at this point, yeah, I'd like to invite Ann Borrowman up to speak around Camosun College and her students and the amazing work that they're doing in the community. Big round of applause.
Big round of applause. Hi. Thank you very much for inviting us to your meeting. My name's Ann Borrowman, and I am an instructor at Camosun College. I teach in the marketing department, so everything from introduction to marketing to the capstone course, which is our Marketing 420 Marketing Project Management. Yeah. It's been going for about 6-7 years now. I developed it in 2013. And throughout that time, what we look at, it's a very, very broad framework of project management. I am not a certified project management person. I am fascinated, and I've told students and other people before, if I had to start again, and not saying that I'm too old to do it now, but if, you know, it's an amazing career, and I applaud all of you, no matter how many times that you had to go through to become certified. So what we do at Camosun College for this capstone course, you have to appreciate that our BBA students They're in their 4th year. They have done so much work throughout their learning, and as many of you can probably appreciate. So this is a capstone course that allows them to use all of the courses that they've learned, everything from marketing, sales management, cold calling, communication strategies, working with clients, planning, executing. So using the project management frameworks, they are out. We actually, I should back up a little bit, right? What we end up doing is we work for a local not-for-profit international organization that the company or the organization is called VIDEA. And they've been in Victoria for over 40 years. And so they have a partner that they work with in Zambia. And it's called Women for Change. And it's a very interesting relationship. And I've learned so much just by doing all of this. So what the students end up doing is creating events to fundraise for the organization in Zambia. So through the project management frameworks of they pitch the idea themselves. I'm there as a coach. They already know everything. I'm just their coach. So they pitch the ideas of what they'd like to do. They're using all their networks and their connections. And in week 11, which is starting next week, they start holding these events throughout Victoria. And over the last 6.5 years, so that's 8 classes, I believe it is, they've raised over $83,000 for VIDEA. So pretty amazing work that the students have done. And I'm lucky enough tonight that 2 of our 3 project managers for different teams are here with me this evening, and we have V and Nayat. And they're planning and doing some amazing events. V's event is actually, and her team, their event is on Thursday at the Event Center, and it's Eve of Empowerment, and it's a whole showcase of female performers and sort of a fashion show and that. And then Nayat's group is doing a comedy night. V's is one of the first, and Nayat's group is one of the last ones on the 26th. And at the Event Center, they're going to be hosting a comedy night. So my goal with them, and I told them right at the beginning, is wouldn't it be great if with this class we can hit the $90,000 mark? So I have full confidence that through their planning they can do it. And so they get to learn project management framework skills. They get to work with an international development organization, and they're learning some software that was developed here in Victoria for the marketing industry as well. A lot of creative houses and what have you use this software. So they're getting piled on with a lot in a short 14 weeks. So anyway, again, thank you very much. And Naya and V, would you like to say anything? Or from the student perspective, they've been thrown into this. I said, oh, you want to say something? I'm okay. Okay, awesome. Oh, and I have to say, too, that Amber has been a huge support, as well as our great buddy at the back, the slideshows and everything. We invite PMI to come into the class and talk to all of our students about careers and about what PMI is all, and VI is all about. So huge support from your organization that you guys probably don't even know about, and we really appreciate that as well. So thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm V. Just to add on to what Anne was saying, yeah, we've had a lot of support from not just Anne, but also from guest speakers from the PM Institute, and a lot of information on how to develop into a project management career, which a lot of people in our class are seeming to be very keen on. And it has just been a great opportunity being able to practice that framework and take all of the knowledge that we've been learning for the last 4 years and really develop something that is tangible. And a lot of networking opportunities as well in this project, which has been really interesting.
Yeah, great, thanks. Did you see? Yeah.
Hello all, my name is Nayat, I'm from Turkey. I'm an international student at Kamosun and I came to Canada 8 months ago. Before I used to do project management. I was the marketing communication manager of Sylvania Lighting in Turkey, but I wanted to learn how to do project management and marketing in Northern America. That's why I started my studies again. And I learned a lot of things in this class and at school. It's so different than Europe. So it was I'm so proud that I was a part of this team and this class. And I'm very excited to be here today. I feel like I will be one of your volunteers. And because I miss doing project management, so probably I will see you another time, yeah, in the future. Yeah, nice to meet you all. And thank you for inviting us.
Thank you so, so much. That was wonderful. Now, at this point, I would like to invite up the president of the local chapter of EGBC, Deirdre Moran, to speak a few words.
Thanks, Liam. I'm actually the chair of our local Victoria branch of Engineers and Geoscientists BC. The past president of EGBC is actually the speaker tonight. So she's at the back of the room there. Just a quick update from the Victoria branch on upcoming activities and some info on what we've been up to for the past year. First of all, March is National Engineering and Geoscience Month. The engineers and geoscientists might have heard something about this. Our branch for NEGM month is doing a bridge building competition on April 4th. That's going to be at Perks Rec Center. I encourage everyone to participate if you're interested. It's really fun. It's a popsicle stick bridge. We have a really great bridge crusher, so it's fun to watch your bridges get destroyed. And we have some great prizes, so that's a fun event. We also have our annual Talbot Awards presentation coming up, and we have a very interesting topic, 3D printed prosthetics and orthotics for amputees and children. That's on April 16th, and that will be held at UVic. We have a few events that are workshops from head office, one on integrated framework of risk management and simulation and project management, which might be interesting to you PMI folks as well, and an OQM certification training session. EIT-GIT seminar, and that also includes a seminar for internationally trained engineers and geoscientists. That's on May 7th. And then our biggest upcoming event is our branch AGM is going to be held in June, and that's going to be also a centennial celebration. So for those of you that didn't know, this is the 100th year anniversary of engineers and geoscientists in BC. Yeah. There's celebrations going on throughout the province this year. There's going to be an art exhibition, I believe, March 16th until maybe mid-April in the Hudson building as well. So if you're walking around there, feel free to check that out. I heard it's pretty cool. Haven't seen it yet, so. Yep, and we're thrilled to be hosting this event with PMI this year and appreciate working with them and hope to do more of this in the future. So thank you.
Thanks, Deirdre. And I'll reiterate that fact. It's been a wonderful opportunity, I think, for us to get together and meet new faces and connect as two sort of different communities, but with very similar outlooks and professional perspectives. So it's been a really great opportunity, and we've really enjoyed having the opportunity to work with you and plan this event together. So at this point, I am going to take a pause and say, let's all just take 5 minutes. You can grab a bit extra food, you can grab some dessert, and there's also drinks available, and we'll kick off in about 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. All right. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed discussing your favorite knowledge area from the PMBOK or other enchanting, great, amazing things to discuss and debate. But it's now my distinct pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Tarnai-Lokhorst, who received her PhD from Royal Roads. And I'm not going to say a lot here, but I was told repeatedly when we announced this event that you should be really excited Dr. Tarnai-Lokhorst is an amazing speaker. You're going to have a really great presentation, so really look forward to that. So without any further ado, I'd like to invite Dr. Tarnai-Lokhorst up. Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you. Are we really happy with this lonely game we play? We're lost in a masquerade. Hello. I've been asked to speak to you about diversity, so I hope that you'll allow me to be a little artistic as well as a gear. You know, I am being an engineer. Been asked to speak to you about diversity and inclusion. And I'm really, really glad to be speaking about that to you because you know, all of you as project managers and engineers, the necessity of having diversity on our teams. We've been told for years how important it is and how much it can benefit our organizations. And I'm giving my signal here. This is the, thank you. And it was really my pleasure to see on your website how you have included on your 2020 report the another one more. How you included a very diverse team that seems to be, it'll be up there in a moment, I'm sure, a very diverse team that seems to be very effective. It's a lovely image and of people who are fully engaged in their activities. I think that all of you perhaps may join me in acknowledging that teams don't always work out the way that we hope that they will, and that sometimes the challenge is to really pull together that team. As engineers, we have trouble finding the personnel to join our teams who are fully diverse because we do not have many women in engineering. So as we're building our engineering teams, and I'm sure you see that in all of the projects that you're working on, sometimes it's just hard to find the people that we need for these teams. So what we can do is work on inviting and including more people to those teams. So I'm not going to talk to you about the value of diversity because we all know that. Forbes has done all kinds of studies looking at how successful organizations can be directly correlated to the diversity that they have on their executive teams. If we even just look at gender diversity, we can see that those organizations that have gender diversity at the top levels are typically more successful, more financially viable, have better growth opportunities than the others that don't have that kind of diversity. So I'm not talking to you about the value of diversity, but how do we achieve and attain and retain diversity on our teams? So some of the things that you all know, I'm just going to list here because I think that there are some key points that we can really draw on and that I've been learning about over the course of my career and my history. Teams thrive, and you probably can't read this, when everyone has a chance to participate. I have a lot of clicking happening on this slide. So we've got when they have the opportunity to participate, to contribute, when they have the opportunity to be encouraged, and when they can encourage others to participate as well, when they have the support to do the work that they need to do, when we have motivation, either we are motivated or we have the opportunity to motivate others, when we are listened to, when we are encouraged, then we are finding that people will be engaging more. We feel like we want to engage, and those teams become so much more productive. And that's because we feel like we belong. There we go. So much smoother when I can click it myself, but that's okay. I can anticipate my words when I can do that. So 50 years, yes, I think that we just got a book. Someone just got a book here, 50 years. I'm not talking about the PMI. 50 years ago was the signing of the Royal Commission on the Status of Women in Canada. 50 years ago in this report, there were several recommendations that were made because of the second wave feminists. And that's a good question. If you want to ask a question later, you can ask me about the waves of feminism, because I can tell you that, but that would be another talk, a long time, not included today, okay? That's for later. 50 years ago, after all of the militant feminists protested, all of that work was done, the Royal Commission was signed, the recommendations were implemented, and I am a product of some of those recommendations. Some of them were quotas. Some of them are really logical things like equal pay for equal work. That just makes sense today. 50 years ago, that document was signed, but still today, we have challenges for including women in all ways where they are not being treated by misogynistic, sexist people. They're not being held back. It's still happening today, and we see that with the movements that we've seen in the last few years alone. What's happening? Why are women still being excluded from participating fully? Why can we not seem to retain fully diverse teams? Why can we not find successes for our projects? I can tell you some of this. I did some research on this, and some of it stems from my own experiences that I'd like to share with you. So I have a little story. I think the next slide will say about me. So let me tell you a little bit about my history. I led a charmed life. I had a lovely, lovely home. I have one brother. My parents loved me, and they fully supported me and gave me everything I wanted. I have all four of my grandparents right through until I became an adult. I had all the loving support. That's my paternal grandmother. On the next slide, you'll see there's a picture at Knife Edge in Vancouver. My uncle was an avid photographer. Just a slight note, he just passed away this weekend. So if I get a little teary, that's... and we had lots of opportunities. Do you recognize this picture? We had lots of opportunities for travel. My dad worked on many projects around the globe and brought my brother and my mother and me along with them. And so we moved around a lot. If you can stay on this slide for a bit. We traveled around a lot. We moved so often that it wasn't until grade 8 that I went to the same school for one full year. And it wasn't until university that I went to the same school for more than a year. So I developed resilience. So we can go to the next slide now, because it should just put that on there. This was me. I developed this strength of bouncing back, right? When stuff happened, I would just dust myself off, get up, and go to the next school. And my brother was always with me. He was always my greatest support. I always had my parents. I always had my family, and I felt supported, and I was definitely, and I would say still am, fairly resilient. So that was great, and that led into my future. So this is me at university when I was graduating from UBC, 1987, mechanical engineering. The next slide is our reunion 30 years later, still going strong, still active. I'm a bit of a volunteer too. Lots of stuff has happened. Throughout all of my life, music has played a really big role. So I've included some pictures of the North Van Youth Band for any of you who are from North Vancouver. I played clarinet. Yeah, it's back in the 70s. Yep. Played the El Macombo. That's me on keyboards, singing. So I can sing actually, although I didn't do a very good job earlier. And I'm still singing. So I have my daughter and I still sing in choirs, and I have a little jazz trio. So I keep my passion going too, and I can do that because I've had that support and I've had the encouragement, and I've been able to start new things that really interested me. My career was charmed as well, and my first job was my second job really. My first job was in Alberta. My second job though was working on aircraft at de Havilland, and I think the next slide should show just a picture of de Havilland just around the same time that I was there. That was just a couple of years before on Family Day, and that's what they did. It was a Boeing company at the time, and they were very supportive of the employees, very supportive of employees' families. They had a really great program for advancement, for growth, for leadership training. It was really, really supportive environment, and I thrived. Just had a great, great time. Started having my children. We moved out west. Settled in Victoria, so I'm so grateful. I'm going to get you. You're going to take that one last picture, and then I can. So I was able to thrive. It was, like I said, a charmed life, and I felt like I could just shine. So I did. I settled myself into a lovely career, started teaching at Camosun in mechanical engineering, got nicely comfortable in there, and loved the opportunity to share my expertise and knowledge in projects, in manufacturing, in design with students of the next generations. And I was noticing that there weren't many women in my classes, and with all of this support, all of this energy, all of this sense of belonging, I felt like I could contribute. And so I did. So I started looking at ways that we could invite more women into engineering. So I started a mentoring program at Camosun. It was a pilot program that we ran. Started looking at ways, as I was department chair, that we could include women and support the women that were in our programs. Many of the women would come to me come to my office, and they would say, "Kathy, I don't think I'm going to stay in this program." And I'd say, "Well, why are you not going to stay in the program?" And they'd say, "Because all of the guys are talking about cars and they're looking at their car magazines, and I'm just not interested. So I think maybe I'll just go do something else." And I would say to them, "Look, I'm not interested in cars either. It's okay. You don't have to be the same as everybody else. It's okay to have your own interests." And so I would encourage these young women to stay. So I thought, I'm going to make some changes here. I'm going to affect change, and I'm going to grow this program, and I'm going to improve the diversity of our programs. Everything was going great. Everything was going great. All right. Yes. I had my integrity, would do what I was going to do, always followed my word, always followed through. I believed in being fully authentic, which is why I tried to sing at the beginning. But that's important to me, that you know who I am, and I want to be fully honest and open with you. And what I love, and one of my greatest values, is joy. I like to experience joy and share joy so that I can bring joy to everything that I'm working on. With these core values, I continue to thrive. I started looking at cross-college activities, started looking at external volunteering roles I could take, and I started getting really involved to make the change happen that I wanted to see. Like I said, everything was going great until it wasn't. So next slide, please. And one more. So around this time, as things were going really well, I was department chair. I started to reach out into the community, and I decided that I was going to go to an activity called Super Bowls of Hope. Or that, I think, it's still running today. I just looked it up and I saw that it was running. So I took my daughter who was singing with me in the choir. This is the bowl that she picked that year. I had the honor of meeting Councillor Helen Hughes. She came and chatted with me, and a few other female leaders, business leaders, were talking to me, and I was telling them about my charmed life. I was telling them about how I was thriving, how I was department chair, how I was making all this change happen, how I was going to change the world, and going to change the face of engineering and bring more women into our programs. And they said to me, have you hit the glass ceiling yet? And I said, there's no glass ceiling in engineering. What are you talking about? Well, they call it a glass ceiling because you don't see it until you hit it. shortly after this was when I was blindsided. Supporters came to me and they said that they thought that it was gender-based, that the reason was because I was someone who was challenging the status quo. I have found that I'm what people call a change maker. If change needs to happen, I can activate that change. I can instill passion. I can excite people. I can develop that motivation, and we can make change happen. And I get really excited, and apparently that scares some people. And so I hit that glass ceiling. I was completely blindsided, and I no longer felt those things that I needed to feel to belong. All of these, I lost the support of some of my colleagues and my supervisors. I lost the ears. No one would listen to me. The encouragement was gone. I mean, we can just walk through all of these, and I ultimately just didn't feel like I belonged. So I just brushed myself off, shook it all off, and I thought, I'm going to get my MBA. I bet you then I'm going to prove to those people that I actually have the ability and skills and knowledge to be successful, and then I'll be able to contribute, and I'll be able to move ahead, and everybody's going to believe in me. So I did. Got my MBA, successful. Yep. That was great, created strat plans. I knew how to build communication plans. I knew how to build finance plans. Like, I could do it all, right? Nothing. It was like I hadn't done anything. It was like those 2 full years I'd spent studying all of the aspects of that Master's of Business Administration had no impact on my ability to contribute. I thought, what? That can't be right. So I joined Engineers and Geoscientists BC, and I got on council, and I started getting lots of support there and lots of encouragement, and that was really exciting. And I started volunteering more in the community, volunteering more at my church, just getting to places where I felt supported. And I thought, okay, I'm good. I'm going to look this in the eye, and I'm going to go and get my doctorate at Royal Roads, and I'm going to show them that there's something going on here, and I actually know what I'm talking about. So what am I talking about? What is it that we need? What is it that was missing, that suddenly disappeared from my workplace? I thought it was just me. I figured it was just me and those people that I was working with. And I thought, somehow I rubbed them wrong. It was my fault. It was not their fault. It was my fault. And no one else had that experience except me. I must be alone in what I'm experiencing. But the more I talked to people, the more I talked to, when I was at my reunion, I talked to my classmates. Of the 10 women that graduated with me from UBC in 1987, I'm the only one still in engineering. When I asked them why, they said, well, it just wasn't rewarding. It just wasn't working. I didn't spend enough time with them to really probe deeply, but I wondered sometimes if they also felt that lack of belonging. So what I want to talk to you about that with this preamble, that was almost half my time, is how do we support the women in our teams and the people in our teams who are feeling excluded? How do we support them so that they can thrive, so they can continue to thrive? Well, the number one thing is now on the screen. Just be authentic. So how do we be authentic? It means you need to know yourself. We need to know ourselves first before we can truly be who we need to be. So I asked my friend and colleague, Deja, who's hiding now on me, there you are, to pass around these values lists. How many of you have done a values exercise? Hopefully all of you. All right, 4. Great. So on this values list, there are 230 personal core values, So what I did, I spent about 10 minutes reading all of them, and I just took a highlighter and I highlighted the ones that stood out to me. So the purpose, the exercise with a values list is to look for values that you currently hold or that you wish you held. All right, so it's that, I mean, look at the first one, acceptance. Is acceptance really important to you? Are you a person who holds acceptance as an important value? Or are you someone who would like to hold that as a value? So you go through and highlight them. I think I highlighted about 30 that resonated with me. Just read them and see if they resonate with you. And then I went through and I shortlisted it to see the ones that really were burning, not just resonating, but vibrating so hard. They were really pulsing. And the ones that I highlighted were the ones that I put up on the screen. That's the integrity, authenticity, and joy. Those are the biggest ones for me. So what are your values? Do you know what your core values are? When you do, you will be able to find out if the place where you're working resonates with those values. Can you meet your values in your life activities? I find those values really resonate for me at EGBC, at Engineers and Geoscientists BC, when I'm on council, when I'm at branch events, when I'm at lunches with my colleagues, when I get to speak at the university, or when I'm teaching at UBC. I have a course that I teach on social responsibility in engineering. When I can connect with students that in a way that reflects my values, I continue to thrive. My light just shines. I know that I'm touching people because I can see them reflecting back on me, the same feelings of joy and authenticity. Be authentic. Once we're authentic, the next few suggestions that I have are really easy. The next one is invite. Invite people to join you. Invite someone to sit in that chair with you. Include them that way by invitation. It really connects you with those people that you want on your team. Ask them. So I have a little story. This picture's from my research. I worked with Physics 11 teachers to look at different ways of teaching core concepts in physics. I felt that perhaps it was by teaching the way that we've always taught that we are giving the wrong message to students, that we're telling students that physics is dead, physics has nothing, no connection to society. These are the things that students told researchers when they went into the classrooms and asked why girls were not continuing on with physics. So I went into the classrooms for the teachers that were on my team, and we invited the students to consider where in their world they saw or experienced friction. We talked about friction, but I asked them, I said, do you ever experience friction when you play sports or where you're working or maybe at home? Have you ever had to slide something or stop something from sliding? And by connecting them to their world, by connecting them where they were at the time, they really felt that they were invited to participate. That was a huge, huge piece that came out of the research. The next suggestion after invite, I better show my watch so I know how much time I have, is make space. So it's not enough to invite. It's not enough to say, come and sit in my chair and, oh, sorry, this one's taken, right? Let's make it an honest space and make space to listen. Make space for them to contribute because sometimes it takes time for people to find their voice. This is another picture. I made sure that the students were in small groups so that everyone would have an opportunity to participate on their teams. We also had them in groups of about three to five at the max, but we were looking for 3 on their teams so that everyone would have a chance to participate. That was the making space. We did have one team that I'll talk about in a minute. They insisted on being 6 together. I'll tell you about that experience, though. It didn't really work. It was a nice idea, but it didn't really work. All right, so my next point. Hold the mindset of possibilities. So what is that? That's yes and. So when someone asks you for something, assume it can happen. Assume you can make it so, and then find out how you can help them achieve it. So thinking that everything is possible means that people are more likely to contribute because they won't feel like they're going to be shut down if they give an idea that doesn't really align with what it is that you have in mind. So try and hold a mindset of possibilities. It's easier to hold when we are authentic, because when we are authentic, when we're in our own space, holding true to our own values, we have the capacity to listen to other people without feeling threatened. Quite often, the students would come up with suggestions for their prototypes. Okay, so here was the thing. They all had to, we had them in a big group, and I said, think about these places where you experience sliding. And then I said, okay, go to your small groups of about 3 to 4, and then talk about your ideas, and then pick one of the ideas, and then you're going to draw a picture of one of those ideas, and then you're going to try and improve the scenario. So this picture was taken at a time where they're going, well, I don't know. I had this idea, but I don't really know if it's a good idea. And I said, no. Everything's a good idea. Just go ahead. What's your idea? Well, I worked in the summer, and we were at one of the parks, and they had a bouncy castle, and we blew it up, and it was in the wrong spot, and we had to move it somewhere. And so I wanted to try and figure out how we're going to slide the bouncy castle from where we set it up to where it had to be. And I went, oh, that's a great idea. Go ahead. So yeah, just knowing that any idea is good. That brainstorming that you all know about, right? That first project stage where you're throwing out ideas, accepting anyone, regardless of how crazy it seems, before you start winnowing. That's the mindset of possibilities. And be curious. I wonder how that might look, especially for those ideas that look a little odd to us or sound a little odd. Mindset of possibilities. How might that work? What would that look like? Okay. I had a boss once who always liked to play devil's advocate. He always liked to immediately say why a suggestion wouldn't work, and it shut down conversation so quickly. So yeah, be curious, but also be curious when you notice people withdrawing, when you notice people who are not contributing. Be curious. What's going on? Because maybe something happened at home that had nothing related to you at all and nothing related to the project. It could just be they're having a bad day. Don't take it personally. Be curious. Yeah. Sorry, I just like that picture. I didn't realize it was taken. That's me. Can you go to the next slide? And assume there's good intention. So that comes with that comment about being curious, right? Make sure that you're assuming everybody has the project success as the main driver. They're not looking to sabotage. When I was working at de Havilland, Boeing had just taken it over, and the previous owner was the government of Ontario, as I recollect, and some of the employees were a little disgruntled because they were talking about having to sell the company, and they were sabotaging some things to try and make work so that anyway, don't do that. Don't do that. Everyone has good intentions. Oh, can you go back? Get rid of that for a second. Okay, whew. So time for my story. So there's this one group of 6, right? There were 4 young women, and then there was a couple, a girl and a boy sitting at the end. And the four were working away on their paper, doing their drawing, and the 2 at the end weren't doing anything. They were just sitting and they were being really cool. And I said, this isn't working. This 6 is not working because the 2 at the end are not participating at all. So I walked up to them and I said, you're going to have to split up. This group is too big. Split up. And so they split, the 4 and the 2. And then I walk away, let them have some space, and I'm watching, and the young woman of the couple has taken her pencil and she's just batting an eraser around on the paper. And I thought, oh, I've totally lost her. She's like completely bored and she's not at all going to participate. So I walked up to her and I said, so how's it going? And she said, well, I play field hockey and I was just thinking that, sometimes when I'm doing a sweep, I want to hit the ball and I'm wondering if I can reduce the friction on the bottom of my stick, if I can actually make it go faster. And I'm trying to think of how that problem might go. So that's her field hockey, and she was using the pencil and and I went, great idea, nice, yeah, you could carry on. It was awesome. And I talked to the teacher afterwards, and he said that she had never participated in a lab before. So assume good intentions. That was my bad. I didn't. Make space, be curious, and invite them to participate. I think I have one more. Elevate the other. This is my teacher team, by the way. That means supporting each other. That means be there when you notice that someone needs something. The question that I asked you, or I suggested earlier, when you're thinking with that mindset of possibilities, how can I help you be successful? How is your aspect of the project going, and how can I help you be successful? That's the piece. How can I promote you so that you have opportunities, other opportunities? How can I help you to advance to the next level, whatever it is that you want to do? Do you have ambitions? How can I help you? And if we help each other, we're just going to help each other shine. So I just like to summarize these pieces that we were talking about. When we can instill belonging, and that's on our project teams, that's in our places of work, that's even in our homes. We support the inspiration, we motivate, we encourage engagement, we foster a creativity that's way more creative than we can do on our own. And that leads to greater innovations. When we work together on a functional team, and I'm guessing because you're all here, you've had this experience too. You've probably experienced a dysfunctional team. How many of you have experienced the functional team? Isn't it wonderful when things work? It's just amazing. It's when we manage to instill that sense of belonging that we can really activate all of these results. And how do we do that? And that's my next slide, right? Really from that authenticity. So be authentic. Know yourself. Figure out what it is that your core values are so that you know if you're resonating where you are in that place. If you hold these tenets, then you will help people, individuals, to feel included. And by feeling included, that fosters a sense of belonging, which will enable them to activate their own energy. We can go one more. And we can help each other to shine. By shining ourselves, we can light the light for others, and we can encourage others to shine as well. So make your light shine. Make yourselves bright, be authentic, and we will have the capacity to solve those complex major problems of the future. The research shows it. This is not all stuff I'm pulling out of the air. This is evidence-based. It feels light, but it works. So thank you so much for your attention. I wanted to leave some time for questions. Do I do it myself? I can moderate. Does anybody have any questions? Oh. Yes.
What I was observing in what you were saying is that it, of course, starts from within. And then a little bit what you said at the beginning, you thought that the glass ceiling was your fault. And your presentation seems to be working on the self. I think, are you encouraging organizations to have people who are influential working on themselves in order to create that environment? Because if you are in a toxic environment, you might be doing all these things, but they help maybe that person, not so much the place they're in. Right? And that's, I think in society, that's the problem with inclusion, is we all feel like, oh yeah, you know, I'm good with this, good with that. But groupthink makes us behave in certain ways that keep pushing some people to the side. And organizations are like that.
Thank you. Would you like me to recap that for everybody? Or that was a long question. But for all of you online, yes. The question really, I think, is that I'm asking you to work on yourselves, to work, that this strength comes from within, this authenticity and the ability to include others comes from within. And am I suggesting, or do I recommend, that organizations actively pursue the development of self so that the organizations can improve? And you mentioned that sometimes you're working in a toxic environment, which I would suggest is perhaps my challenge, and that sometimes you can do the best you can, be the best you can, but not be able to overcome. Did I kind of encapsulate that? So there you go. No, there was a question in there. And I believe that organizations that are successful and moving towards the future do that. So my experience at Boeing, at de Havilland in Toronto, was exactly that. They trained people, individuals, on leadership. And I've had that same experience at Camosun. The faculty development program is absolutely phenomenal at the college. There are so many opportunities for individuals who would like to grow and learn to develop leadership skills and to connect with people that will be supportive. And so there are organizations that are doing it. I know that my husband is now working with an organization who is providing leadership coaching to all of their leaders and middle managers. They have counselors who are available to help each employee, especially at that leadership level, identify the one big thing that they would want to change or need to change in order to be a better leader. I think organizations that are thriving are doing a lot of that. Yes, they are supporting. And I think for us, if we notice that we are in an environment that is toxic, it's our obligation to raise awareness about that environment, and ultimately, if it doesn't change, to protect yourself and step out. Yeah. I see some head nods, so I think I'm on the right track. And thank you for the question. That was really hard. Anybody else? Yes. Do you want the microphone? Would that be better?
So what would you suggest for people to ensure that they feel happy to welcome diversity without feeling overwhelmed with the still restrictions or requirements that we have to place when welcoming others that think different, look different, or are from a different place? And I say this from an immigrant perspective. I still know that I have to adapt to the Canadian culture, which can be very polite, and I always say it, and I love it. But how do we help others understand that it is also okay not to be polite, while still reminding people that they need to be polite? How do we welcome diversity while protecting ourselves?
Thank you. It's a tough crowd. Thank you. That's a really great question, too. That's why I speak so much about being authentic, because if we are in a strong place where we are resilient and we are really comfortable, then we don't feel threatened by the different behaviors or cultures of other people. And so it is a challenge to be open and welcoming to people who have a different perspective. And I think what our obligation is as leaders is to meet other people where they are, So find out about that other culture. Be curious. Ask those questions. And I know that you do. And I think that's really the encouraging piece, is that we have so many people already who are practicing these kinds of inclusive behaviors. Sometimes it's as easy as inviting people for coffee. That's the one piece that always stands out to me. The one piece that helped me feel like I don't belong was when my colleagues would come back to the office with coffee and they'd go, "Oh, Kathy, I'm sorry we forgot to invite you. We'll invite you next time." And, these little things that, of course, they never did, right? These little things just get tiring after a while. So invite them. Reach out, ask them, what is it that you feel is part of your core? What is it that you're doing? Why is it that you do that in your culture? Why did you say that? What was that joke you said? I didn't understand what you meant by it. Just be curious. It helps. Yes. Here, I'll give you the mic.
What would you say to a company about, professional development to help individuals sort of develop themselves instead of necessarily focusing on group sort of professional development sessions? And how would individual programs, differ from group programs?
Oh, you're all coming up with great questions. One of the best organizations, and their name has just left my mind, and if anybody thinks of it, please put your hand up and shout out what company it is. Their professional development is developing their employees for their next job. What is it that you would like to do? Where would you like to go? How can I help you get there? And what they found was that by developing their employees for their next job, those employees felt valued and they stayed. They just developed. That was one of the plans that I tried to instill in our organization was goal-setting interviews. So instead of having faculty evaluations, I wanted faculty and staff to have goal-setting interviews where they could identify what it is that they want to accomplish with their lives. And then my response was, "That's fantastic. How can I help you get there?" So I believe that the individual training is vital. I know that a lot of the leadership courses I took had people at about the same level that were working together to then move forward. I think they both have value, group professional development and individual coaching. Absolutely. They both have a place. Oh, now they're coming. Okay, I'm going to go here. We're going to go gender back and forth.
So I kind of want to follow on from his question. There's obviously we're all here for professional development, and professional development, it must be a part of all of our lives. But do you have any suggestions to make it a little bit more tangible, maybe for somebody who doesn't do a lot of professional development? Is there anything that somebody could do to make themselves more inclusive at work that doesn't require, say, taking a course or signing up for something? I don't know, making it a little bit more tangible or boiling it down.
So are you an engineer? No, I'm not. Okay, then I don't know what your professional development requirements are. Sorry. So that's really interesting. And what I would suggest, there's actually a lot that's online, a lot of online courses that are available. And so many of them are free. I would suggest blogs, reading. A lot of what we can do as engineers is we can read literature. We can find journals and read journals. I would read. Educate thyself. And I would also consider either checking in with a coach, hiring a coach, or hiring a counselor to work with you to develop the skills that you want to develop. I think that that will help you regardless of what you're doing. I don't know if having a counselor would qualify for professional development hours. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, is that a bit help? I also think volunteering is huge. Volunteering for engineers absolutely counts as professional development. So volunteering for activities like this. Is that helpful? Oh, good.
Thank you. So I'm going to apologize in advance. Never a good sign. Because this might be oversensitive. The word that strikes me in these values that you put here when you're speaking is bravery, that ties in with your authenticity. So thank you first of all for this, because for me it resonated very strongly, because there's a lot of fear with the authenticity piece. There's having a background where standing out from the crowd was not encouraged, that the corporate culture, so to speak, was one where you were one of many, part of the pack, and standing out was not a desirable thing. What you're talking about being authentic, when your authenticity stands you out, when you see that toxic work culture or the thing that doesn't work, whatever it is, and you need to separate yourself from it, call attention to it, draw it out, so to speak. I think whether it's a personal challenge, an organizational challenge, whatever it may be, there's a lot of fear in doing that. And it takes a lot of bravery. I mean, everyone has fears, but the bravery piece is to be able to face that fear. And as a father, I'm struck by the timeliness of this, because my daughter is currently facing a similar challenge, as young kids will. They're trying to be part of the pack, and there's something that's happening in her life that just doesn't line up with who she is, and she's being authentic. And my advice to her is to be brave and to do a lot of the things you kind of mentioned there. But it's difficult, extremely difficult, not only for someone to coach another who's developing that skill, but also as a person who's gone through that myself and still struggles with it. It's really hard to step out and ask a question or raise your voice. So all that to say, thank you for this, because serendipity, I thought this was very timely for me. And I think there's a lot of value in the values you labeled and identified there, as far as how that's the way things are going, and it's somewhere difficult for a lot of us to go. So anyways.
Yes.
It's not easy to ask a question after him. Before coming to Canada, I was working as a lean coach in Turkey. The diversity and forming a team was our main problem, because most of the companies inviting us to some coaching to their employees, and they were complaining about their employees about we have a suggestion system, but nobody suggests anything. And I was asking that, how is it like? So this is the box, this is the form. The people should write some suggestion and put it in a box, and we will read it. And if we accept that, we apply the suggestion. So I went completely down to the shop floor, and I started asking questions to the employees. And they said that, I said, your suggestion level is so low. Why is that so? Because people said, nobody's asking anything about what we are doing here. Because they give the books and the procedures, and they expect to follow these procedures while working. So I will come to the team planning. We tried to, not with the numbers, not 4 or 6 people or 8 people. I left the teams. I said, this is the problem. How do you solve this problem? How many people you need to solve this problem? So they formed their diversity themselves. They were inviting some people from the maintenance department, what they need. They formed their own diversity, and they don't want to have their managers or experienced engineers with them because they put a pressure. No, this is wrong. You can't do it. This is the result. So my question is, how do you avoid some dangers for diversity? Sometimes if you diverse too much, there could be a problem for a lot of experience is a problem for the non-experienced people, or the age is the same, gender is the same. So for the facilities, for the manufacturing companies, we were hiring people, and at the same time we had some people 20 years experience. So we expect to make the same kaizens as a team. So nobody wants to hear raise their voice when there's around the people with a 20 years experience. So in a learning kata, kata is a Japanese term. When we start the kaizen, just give the problem and push people to find the root cause and leave them to make their own team. We started with 5 suggestions. At the end of the year, we completed 750 complete Kobetsu Kaizen with the same team. The team that the owner of the company were complaining about them. They don't suggest anything. They start suggesting. But what do you think about some dangers for the high diversity? Sometimes it's difficult.
It's a really interesting question, and I think so much of being able to have the capacity to create a truly diverse team that is functional depends so much on corporate culture. So if you're working within an organization that has a culture that does not support risk taking, it's really hard to take those risks, to take those challenges and come up with new solutions. We have a similar problem. As the immediate past president of Engineers and Geoscientists, my obligation, my responsibility is to head the nominating committee for our next council elections. And we also have to find a diverse group of people that we can put on the slate for the elections. And it's a challenge. We need to find the skills that we need for a successful council. And we need to also give visual diversity so that we have that, it has to look like the meeting picture, right? Everybody's got to look like the meeting picture. But we also need to pull in people from different backgrounds so that we have different ideas coming to the table as we're looking to govern this 100-year-old association. So it is a challenge, and I think that creating diversity for the sake of diversity is a problem. I think that we need to build diversity from skilled, talented, knowledgeable people. And then it won't matter. We'll have the skill set. Now we need the diversity because we'll have the viewpoint differences. So perhaps it's from where we start. Yeah, follow-up question?
I told them, why don't you invite some people from the maintenance department to help your kaizens? And they invited. And when the maintenance guy came, okay, you break the machines and you're inviting us to your kaizens to make it, right? This was their first attitude, the first reaction. And it is not easy to break the how do you say? Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story. It is a challenge. Are there other questions? I'm getting the hook.
They're not getting the hook. They're getting the hook.
Thank you.
So I set a high bar saying that I'd heard amazing things with the best of intentions. And I think...
Sorry to tell you that...
No, you completely exceeded. I think that was an amazing presentation. Really, really honored to have you here today. I can't say enough great things. we have invited you to speak at the conference, so there's a big plug. So if you liked what you saw here, we're going to get more of it, and I'm really excited that we're going to have your voice in our conference. I think it's going to be very, very valuable. Last thing, one of the nice things about being here for a joint dinner with EGBC and PMI-VI, you get 2 gifts. So this one from EGBC.
Oh, and Prime Engineering. Thank you.
Prime Engineering.
Thank you. Oh.
And then I've stashed a 50th book here for you as well.
Oh, that is lovely. The texture is beautiful.
Yeah. So the theme of 50, thank you so much for coming to speak.
I am 50, so it's homework.
One more giant round of applause. Thank you so much. So now it's my distinct pleasure to invite Deja up, who's going to help us with the door prizes for this evening, and then close out the evening.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I am an engineer and a project manager, so you get nothing for free. You have to work for it. There is a process for everything in my life, and tonight you are going to experience one. So be ready to answer some questions and have some fun. I think it's important to just be curious, as we were just coached on that, and let's practice it tonight. So I have 10 questions for 10 different gifts, and if you answer correctly or semi-correctly, you get the gift. I need a hand up for the person who knows what the largest project in Panama in history has been. Right here? Perfect. So the next one is general culture. What is the capital of Bolivia? Nope. Yes? Perfect. La Paz. And if you go there, make sure that you have learned how to breathe at high altitudes. And if not, you're going to have to try coca leaves, which I don't suggest it, I didn't, but that's the general cultural practice. What are the names of our president from PMI and our chair for EGBC? No, just the names. Perfect. So Liam is our president for PMI, and Deirdre is our chair for EGBC. Next. What does Prime Engineering do? Yes? Very well answered, and I would like to add to that. Could you, Douglas, tell us what you do at Prime Engineering?
Yeah, we do equipment supply, consulting, services, and engineering.
I love it. The next question is, what are the 3 domains that the new PMP exam will ask questions about? Very, very simple. 3 domains. I'll give you the first one. It starts with the P. The second one starts with the P. And the third one starts with the B. Yes? Perfect. You are ready. Did everyone hear that? People, process, and business environment. The next one is very simple. If you learn something tonight, you should be able to answer that. How do I know if someone on my team is feeling excluded? Here? But how do you know that? So the answer, so if we see that, sorry, Pawan, she was just answering in this side, but because of the pillars, we couldn't see each other, but she's saying that isolation, so if someone is looking isolated, if someone is not participating, if someone has a sad face, is that what I heard too? So thank you for answering that. The next question is, do men and women need the same support to feel they belong? Do men and women need the same support to feel they belong? And not yes or no. Explain why. Yes?
It's different in different environments. There are some environments where men need a little more support to feel that they belong. And there's some environments where women may need more support to feel that they belong. That's my answer.
We have an answer here in the front. Kathy, do you approve that? Perfect. I am not the expert on this, so I cannot approve or disapprove. The next question is, how many people are infected with coronavirus in the world? Let me go to Professor Google. How many? Who said that? Who answered that? Yes, 118,909 cases. That is correct. But I just cautioned you I actually thank you for being here and for not being paranoid, for taking some precautions. That is great. And the next question is, what is the silliest thing you have heard about coronavirus besides knowing that coronavirus doesn't come from corona beer? What is the silliest thing you have heard? And those who answer do not get a second chance, so. What was that? That is pretty silly that you can get it from dogs, but I am not sure about that. It's
pretty silly.
Yeah, so the gentleman over there gets the gift, the last gift. And I don't have more gifts, therefore I don't have many questions left. But thank you so much. Actually, I do have many questions left, but no more gifts. That's what I meant.
Thank you so much, Deja. Thank you so much, Deja. Thank you again, everyone, so much for coming out and being with us tonight. We look forward to seeing you at the conference, at our AGM in May, and at our next joint EGBC PMI dinner. Thank you and good night.